All right, it is July 5th, 2023 at 5:45 p.m. We're going to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. Present are council members Lang, Barker, Chute, Hauser, and Marmee. First thing to inform everyone of is the general fund is balances at $1,585,581. The cash balance of the budget stabilization fund is at $1,468,230. First item on the agenda is a request for appropriation amount of $12,000.
I think Dave's still coming down. This is for streets. Buster wants temporary services out there. It's out order. What's that? Oh, there you go. Sorry.
I've lost so much weight. He was on the right track. He wasn't misleading. He needs to have his eyes checked, but I haven't lost that much weight. But this is to cover the temporary services needed in the streets department. It's coming from the 221 fund. That's the source of the fund.
Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Barker. Questions, Mr. Burke?
Thank you. Director, what temporary services, kind of broad, what are these temporary services?
We hire seasonal help.
Okay.
And they help us with things all over the city.
Thank you.
Any other questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor send this on to full council signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $11,315.07.
It's in there.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman and members. This is just simply a true-up measure to make certain the salary account is funded properly within the municipal courts.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Barker. Questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of sending this on full council signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $23,838.54.
Mr. Chair, about 2 months ago, I came before the committee to create another position of grounds maintenance worker for the cemetery. At that point, we were talking about putting a certain amount of people in the cemetery each day, which we have done. It's working out quite well. Chance is doing a wonderful job leading that. And then she's off the ground in the cemetery, in the parks, working each day too. This is to fund the additional position that we created for the next 10 pay periods for the remainder of the year.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Barker. Questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor send this on full council signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. That motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $150,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The request in front of you, gentlemen, this evening is simply for resources that give us the opportunity to continue our mission in terms of hiring firefighters within our division.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Barker. Second by Lang. Questions and or comments? This is to fund additional positions that are already created, but were not funded. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Just to clarify here.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Sure.
So, any other questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, send this on full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $693.75.
Mr. Chair, that's mine as well. Pertains to some equipment that we've recently sold within the fire division. And we're simply just asking for those resources back to be spent towards future purchases.
Motion. Second. Motion by Hauser, second by Lang. Questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, send this on full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Chief. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation amount of $100,000.
Good evening, this is mine. This is for, you've seen the work on Church Street between Rhode Island and Midland Theater. As they were doing that stormwater improvements project, they ran into, we think the last piece of clay pipe in downtown Newark. So this is to repair and replace the sanitary sewer to bring it up to speed with the rest of the downtown Newark project. So.
Motion.
Second. Motion by Parker, second by Lang. Questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, send this on full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. A motion passes 5-0. Thank you. And that concludes the finance committee meeting. Next up is service.
Michael, will you go see if Jeff's in?
Okay.
So we can. just-
I guess you need your chair.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's here, I think it's right now.
We will call the service committee meeting to order. Those present are myself, Brad, Harris, Parker, Blind, and Shute. Up first, consider ordinance 23-23, an ordinance approving the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances in a resolution as part of the various component codes of the codified ordinances, providing for the adoption of new matter in the updated and revised codified ordinances, repealing ordinances and resolutions in foot therewith and declaring emergency.
Hi, good afternoon. This is just the annual legislation that we put forward that allows the American Legal Publishing Company to change any of the things that are in our code that we have passed ordinance resolutions to change since December of 2022. And it's an emergency because there are publisher deadlines. Motion.
Second.
Motion by Blind, second by Parker. Any questions from the committee? Questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And we'll pass with a vote of 5-0. Thank you. Up next, ordinance number 23-24, an ordinance annexing certain territory generally described as being 0.871 acres more or less located in Newark Township to the city of Newark, Ohio.
Mr. Chair, we're just asking that you pass on the planning commission so we can take a look at that.
Okay, any questions from motion? Motion by Barker. Seconded by Blind. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion will carry forward with a vote of 5-0. Up next, ordinance number 23-25, an ordinance annexing certain territory generally described as being 2.035 acres more or less located in Newark Township to the city of Newark, Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Same item. We can pass those.
Motion by Barker. Seconded by Blind. Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That'll pass with a vote of 5-0. On that ordinance, thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Next ordinance number 23-26, an ordinance amending portions of the chapter 1068 of the codified ordinances of the city of Newark, Ohio regarding prohibited act and prohibited possessions in parks and recreation areas within the city of Newark, Ohio. Chance, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
We've had issues in our parks recently with people metal detecting and not filling in the holes once they dig and find something. And so it's hard on the mowers, and we've actually had an elderly woman who sprained her ankle in one of the parks, and we just want to nip that in the bud before it gets any worse or anything more serious happens.
So you are prohibiting metal detectors,
Metal detector, yep,
nothing else.
metal detecting, we can't possess a metal detector, and we can't metal detect in the parks.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Harris.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on.
Sorry.
Seconded by Blind. Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the audience?
I think my name and address if I need.
Yes, you do.
All right. Chuck, Michael Hauser, 28 North Hazelwood Avenue. Do you guys like notice people with metal detectors out there? Like you observe them doing it? I'm just curious.
So we get calls about it.
Okay.
We get calls about people metal detecting in the parks and people noticing the holes, and then we go out and then we have to fill them.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
I haven't actually witnessed anybody, but we've gotten plenty of calls about it. You have to, yeah. It wasn't an issue past summer, but for some reason this summer it's been coming up a lot more.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Marmy.
Yeah, Doug Marmy, 317 South Heather Drive, Newark, Ohio. So is the enforcement going to be our police officers then, or who's going to enforce it?
We have a lot of people that call about it, and they've just been asking questions about it on if there's specific ordinances or if there's specific, rules against that. So most people call and they're pretty courteous about it, and they'll ask before they actually go out and metal detect. There just wasn't anything in place before, but I suppose if there was something in place and someone was doing it, I would give the police a call about that. Or if it's something where I see someone, then I can approach them.
And
about it.
then what's the offense going to be? Is it a misdemeanor? What's going to be the result if we catch somebody?
I would assume the first would be just a warning about it, because it's not like there's signs posted in the parks themselves stating that you can't metal detect. So a warning first, and then I guess I haven't thought that far about it.
Okay,
So let me ask you, what else is prohibited in parks?
A lot of things. There's a very long list, but there's,
And signage is out on that list. Signage is at the parks,
there's signage in the parks.
showing the list of prohibited activities.
No, not all of them. What we have in our parks are the dawn to dusk, that it's closed dawn to dusk, and then it's in the look back here, the prohibited
So
act.
who enforces those?
if we get calls about them, we go out and talk to people, but then there's some like people laying on tables and things like that, camping out in the parks that we call the police on, depending on what the how severe certain things are, but I mean, our guys go out and I'll go out and talk to people if they're doing something that's,
Is it a criminal offense? Do we press charges on these people, or do we just say you're breaking the rules, go away?
most of the time, it's something that you can talk to these people and they'll end up leaving. We would, the police get called if there's someone like camping out at the parks and things like that. But most of the time, like I said, we would just go up and you
Is
would.
that a criminal offense?
And we've had people trespass off of parks that will reoccur and they'll camp out and, yeah.
Mr. Marley, did you?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we have an ordinance in place. And first of all, I just want to make sure that who's gonna enforce it. And then what is the actual, is it a violation? Is there gonna be a fee? What's actually gonna be the offense? Because anything that we have an ordinance or a law against, there should be some kind of reprimand or something along with it. Without that, what prohibits them from actually doing it?
I understand. It's mostly been in the past that people call in and they ask if they're allowed to do something, but there was never anything in place saying that they actually couldn't. So for the metal detecting, like you said, most people are actually just calling in
Okay,
about.
so let me ask the law director, is this something we need an ordinance for? Or is this something that we just need rules within the Parks Department?
Well, any rules violated of the Parks Department can be a criminal charge
Okay,
for violation. It was added into the prohibited acts.
okay,
But there is a penalty section right off the top of my head. I don't know what that is,
Okay.
whether it's an unclassified and a fine or
Right.
it elevates after each offense. But under the prohibitive acts, if, for example, if we find someone trespassing in a park after hours, we can charge them with criminal trespass, we can charge them with violation of the park laws.
okay,
So, yes,
that's fine, I just want to make sure that we have that,
yes.
so, very good, that's all I want to make sure, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion will pass forward 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, resolution 23-67, a resolution authorizing and directing the director of public service for the city of Newark, Ohio, to enter into a lease purchase agreement with Park National Bank for the lease purchase of 8 police cruisers for the Division of Police. Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're here tonight asking permission to enter into that lease agreement to buy 8 vehicles for the police department. Now, if you remember, not too long ago, we were into lease purchase last year, 5. Out of those 5, we received 2. So I'm asking for 8. I'm thinking over the next couple of years, we'll get these 8 in. But it gives me the authority to go ahead and get them ordered.
What about the 3 that we haven't got?
There's order and when they come in, we'll take them in. But it's taking just that long.
So we pass this, we'll have 11 come.
Yeah, that's correct. Over the next 2 to 3 years.
Mr. Harris.
Why are they taking so long, or haven't we changed neighboring, I mean, are they still the Fords, or have we changed companies?
No, we're still in the same product. And I think you need to go run the lines, the production lines together. It's just that way when we came in for the three transport units for the fire department. I mean, we might see one of them next spring.
We're not having discussions about how comfortable they are, we?
Well, yeah.
It was a joke.
Motion.
Motion by Parker. Seconded by Line. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion will carry with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Sure.
That concludes the service committee. Up next will be economic development.
All right, I'm going to call this meeting of the Economic Development Committee to order. Present are council members Hauser, Bryan, Blind, Harris, and Barker. Tonight, we're going to consider ordinance 23-27, an ordinance authorizing a moratorium on the processing or approval of any application for a certificate of zoning clearance, building occupancy permit, or any other permit or approval required under a section of the zoning code related to shipping containers, temporary structures, storage units, pods, and bins, as well as for vape and tobacco shops in the DC downtown district, of which are currently under review by the Planning Commission and City Council by way of ordinance 23-22 and declaring an emergency.
Good afternoon. This was a consideration of some of the major zoning changes going into effect, that we wanted to have to stop to certain issues that are becoming bigger issues in our community, like shipping containers, like vape shops. To at least, and also there are certain timelines that the zoning department has to meet if an application is put in. So we don't want that pressure on them to have to comply with those timelines. Those timelines are also being reviewed for change. So, while this legislation is pending, we wanted to put a stop on any issuance of approval for anything regarding those topics until the Planning Commission has time to consider it, and it comes back to council and you guys have time to consider it.
Thank you, Audrey.
Yep.
Any questions from the committee?
Offer motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Hauser, second by Blind. Is there any questions from the audience? Mr. Martin?
Yeah, so this is just a temporary thing, and when it does come through zoning, are they gonna clearly define vape and tobacco and differentiate between like a cigar shop or something, someone who sells cigars, and then or stores that include?
Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the language states vape and tobacco.
Not vape and
Stores.
or, correct?
I believe it's vape and tobacco.
Okay, just that's the major concern with the downtown area, because cigar shops or different stores or whatever that have a humidor or something, I would not think we would want that excluded from the downtown area is what my concern would be. So just make sure to include something like that.
Yeah, and obviously, once the planning commission comes back with an opinion, whether they think things should be amended or council thinks things should be amended, obviously, once that is over, then the moratorium will go away.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? No? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That passes 5-0. And with that, committees stand adjourned. Full council will start at 7 o'clock.